So you've gotten yourself a penalty, or you feel like one was missed on the track, and now you want to talk to an official. Well, what circumstances let you do so, and what are you allowed to talk about? Let's get into it. Now, it is the competitor's responsibility to know and understand the rulebook. It isn't the official's job to teach it to them. But that doesn't mean that asking questions under the right circumstances are out of the question. And I certainly do not want to scare people away from talking to officials, asking questions, getting clarification, especially newcomers to a series or somebody, newcomers to racing in general. I go out of my way to make myself available for just such things. Of course, how and what questions you ask matter. Now, when it comes to people wanting to talk to officials, the majority of the time, it's about a penalty. Now, most series have dropped having a marshal actually informing competitors of a penalty at the time they come off the track. Now, this is because, as you can imagine, informing a competitor coming straight off the track hot that they've gotten a penalty leads to abusive officials and competitors getting penalties that they may not have otherwise gotten. Instead, most series have moved to simply having the penalty posted on the timing and scoring sheets up in the scoring tower or wherever they're posted. That is the steward of the series informing the competitor of their penalty. There is no requirement for a series official to explain that penalty to you personally. You'll see on the sheet what the infraction is and what the penalty for it is. Sometimes you'll even get a corner and a lap, although unless it's in the rulebook, that's not necessarily required. Now, even if you feel like the contact you made or the move you made didn't deserve a penalty, or you feel it wasn't your fault, the official disagreed with you, and they don't owe you any more of an explanation than what's on the sheet. But what if you think it was a mistake? But just because you think an official made a mistake doesn't mean they did. A big part of that is understanding the rulebook. To use some baseball lingo here, race officials are not going to argue with you over balls and strikes. They don't have to prove the call to you or defend themselves. If you feel like a mistake was made or something was missed, the call on the track can only be challenged in one of two ways. If it's available, an inquiry or a protest. An inquiry is a direct challenge to a call made on the racetrack or one that was missed that directly affected your race. Firstly, you have to fill out the form properly, and you have to do it within the time allotted. Then, again to go with baseball lingo, you have to provide unequivocal, clear, definitive proof that the call was missed or was made in error. 99 times out of 100, that's going to be clear, unobstructed video. Otherwise, the call on the field stands. Now, the threshold of proof here is very high, as it should be. Competitors are looking for advantages on each other, and they will, in many cases, absolutely lie to officials to get what they want. And because of that, no official can rely on somebody's word. What an inquiry is not is a debate or a demand for the race director to show you proof or to justify the call to your personal satisfaction. Remember, officials do not have to prove anything. They're making the call in the moment on the track. That is what they are there for, among other things. Although, to be fair, making penalty calls isn't even in the top 3 of a race director's priorities on a race day. So you gotta prove the mistake or you gotta move on. A protest is like an inquiry, except that it comes with a price tag and 3 jury members, hopefully unbiased jury members. And this is on top of the paperwork and time crunch. Now, the jury's job isn't there to debate with people on how things should be. The jury's job is to find if there is enough evidence to overturn the call, just like the inquiry, except instead of the race director making the call, it is the jury. The burden of proof is just as high. That same clear, unequivocal proof needs to be provided. Remember that the official is only going to be using the rulebook and pointing to the rules at hand. Debates, accusations, and feelings have no place in these proceedings. Either a mistake was made or there wasn't. No, you won't. Somebody demands to talk to the officials because they filled out the form, they say they have the evidence, and in the end, all they wanted to do was argue. All an official is going to do is walk away. An inquiry or a protest is a challenge to a call with evidence. It is not a debate. All the explanation that you can reasonably expect is on the notice board. Otherwise, if a mistake happened, you need the evidence and the inquiry or the protest. Now, this is where it becomes very understandable for somebody new to a series or new to racing. There are procedures, there's a lot of things. Racing is by far the most complicated sport in the world. There's a lot to get your head around. But you also have to understand that race officials are extremely busy on a race day, and they're not always going to have time to explain the rules to you in the general manner of the day. Driver's meeting is going to be the best time and place to talk to an official. They're going to ask anybody if they have questions. You can, of course, try to catch them after driver's meeting before first practice. But once the race day is started, officials have a hard time finding time to give explanations to people. Try to be clear, concise, and get down to what you're trying to ask. You can actually develop relationships that way. So what? Even if an official can't recall the exact infraction that they called on you after the race, doesn't change anything. Why would it? The officials are doing a lot of things and dealing with a lot throughout a race day. Even a relatively slow race day, you're talking about, half a dozen to a dozen classes running practice, qualifying, heats, and finals, if not more. And you expect them to remember every single possible detail of the call they made on you? That's not how it works. They are not machines, coaches, or teachers. And if you expect officials to remember every detail of every possible call that they've made throughout a race day, then throw out every single call that's been made, because that burden is impossible to maintain. That or a series has to have a full coverage video system where they can recall everything, because it is impossible to expect an individual race official to remember everything, especially to an upset competitor's personal satisfaction. Officials have no obligation to remember every call or every detail of the calls that they do remember. Paying your entry fee does not give you the right to talk to an official. It doesn't even give you the right to participate. All that paying your money and registering for an event gives you is the opportunity to participate if you fulfill all of the minimum requirements and there is room in the class for you as determined by the series and its officials. That's it. They can take your money and never let you run a lap. Nothing, in particular paying a registration fee, gives you a right to speak to officials. If officials choose to speak with you, it is either in the course of their duties or they are extending a courtesy to you, and that courtesy can be revoked at any time. If your intention is to listen and learn, asking for their opinion on something, how a procedure works, clarification of how a rule works, officials want to help you. If your real intention is to just argue and debate, and you just want to force the official to take the penalty away because you say so, well, the official has no reason to speak to you. Using those questions as an excuse to try to get yourself in to get an official's attention may give you a few moments. But as soon as the official understands what your genuine intention is, they're probably just going to walk away. Whether we like it or not, regardless of what sport you're talking about, officiating mistakes are part of the game. That is literally what inquiries and protests are for. In fact, the vast majority of series don't even offer free inquiries. So if the series that you race for does, they're trying to be even more fair than most. But expecting and demanding officials give you personal time and explanations and justifications during a race day is just a fantasy that far too many participants seem to have indulged in. The tools to challenge a call are there. Use them, and if you meet the burden of proof, the call will be overturned, or if a call was missed, a penalty will be applied. Otherwise, the call on the field stands. But if you take your responsibility to know the rules seriously, you can protect yourself against the vast majority of penalties. You'll minimize the chances of them being called against you or used against you because you'll know what to do. Just being at the racetrack or having been around for a long time is not good enough. It never was. Remember, rulebooks change all the time. The updates are always posted on the website. So before a race day, take a minute and just check the website and see if anything new is up there. So let me know what you think. Should officials be more accessible? Should they be locked in a building away from everybody else? Should there be some other procedures and ways in which competitors can get more clarification? Let me know what you think. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, do all those wonderful things. And as always, I will see you at the racetrack.